All right, Trevor Sikkema is back. Last year we did this show, guys. You remember. And we said, give me a guy who's perfect prospect, perfect for a team. He gave me Bo Nix as a Bronco. Not only was Bo Nix drafted as a Bronco, but he was the perfect Bronco. He was the perfect Sean Payton quarterback. He looks good. The Broncos, I know this isn't what we're doing with the show. I'm ready to talk crazy about the 2025 Broncos. Like, I'm ready to talk crazy. And not there yet, but I was thinking earlier this offseason about who has the capability to be the next Eagles, where we're just like, oh, the roster is so stacked that they have to win. The Broncos, to me, feel like they're on that track. When you just look at the trenches, you look at the defense, you look at their offensive line, I'm looking at it and going, I don't know, man. In 2 years, we might be like, what the hell is this? This team's amazing.
The Broncos are going to be everybody's sexy pick to be like that playoff team that makes it right. I completely agree with you.
Can I say something about that, though? We're always a year early on that. Always.
Yeah. Because there's too many takes.
Yeah.
Right. There's too many takes, and everybody has to like one up or like be even earlier than the first take. And so like, in reality, I'd probably like to say like, oh, like maybe not 2025, but probably 2026. The Broncos are going to be in really good shape. But I can't say that. I got to be first on it. If you're not first, you're last.
If you're not first, you're last. But no, that's the thing. We always are like, oh, here comes the so-and-sos. And it's like, like last year with the Texans, right? The Texans, we'll see what happens here. But like, we start talking about trajectory and then we say, oh, okay, well, they're on this path. And it's like, they're on the path. That means 2 years away. Anyway, Broncos probably 2 years away from being an actual Super Bowl contender. So when you hear the sexy pick, remember, I said just pump the brakes. They're going to get there, but not this year.
See, but this was perfect by you because you introed this by saying like, hey, you know what? This is kind of my pick for the Broncos. Yeah. But then you also played bad cop and you were like, whoa, let's take it easy here. So no matter what, this is true professionalism here and why you're a titan of the industry because you just played both sides so beautifully that no matter what, you can't be wrong.
The best advice I ever heard in interviewing was Tim Russert. He said he used to host Meets the Press before his untimely death. And he said how he preps is he knows everything someone's going to say and then argues the opposite, gets ready to argue the opposite, right? And so I do that a little bit. But if you can do that to yourself on takes, you will never be wrong. If you just argue with yourself in a point, you can fill any innings that you need to on TV and you will never be wrong.
That's
so
why
I said I was ready to talk crazy about the Broncos, but what you didn't know was it was the 2026 Broncos.
That's good. See, it's brilliance. It's brilliance right there. It's along the same lines of Connor and I on the NFL Stock Exchange show. We said we've never missed on a prospect, not once. Haven't. Either we were right about them, or it was something that was out of our control,
or they were failed. They was just a bad infrastructure.
Of course, right?
That's my thing.
No.
One of the things, because I'm so into the geography is destiny thing, that it's great because you can just like I said Cam Ward has Mahomes' ceiling. Oh well, he didn't. If he gets benched in October, I get to go. Oh well, he was just in a bad situation.
Yeah.
He was failed, and then you get to then you know what to do next is you get to go into I can't wait to see him on another team. Immediately by November you get to go. Boy, I'd love for Andy Reid to take a flyer on him. Oh, imagine him in the Shanahan offense. You can just sort of go in so many different ways.
That is the ultimate get out of jail free card. Well, think about him in the Shanahan offense. Yes. It is. It is good in the
Shanahan offense. But imagine.
Right.
Speaking of takes,
yes.
On Friday, I went on television. I want to get up in first take, and I unleashed my Cam Ward is the closest thing to Mahomes since Mahomes' take. Mm-hmm. And people were reacting. A lot of people just get reflexively upset. First of all, people are like, oh, well, you guys said this about Caleb Williams last year. I didn't. I did not. So whoever said it is a different person than me. We're not a monolith. We don't all take each other's takes, right? We're not a little rat king where we are cobbled together.
Of course.
And what I liked about it is the things I hate are when you go viral for something or people start reacting to something that you didn't, is either taken out of context or is like a throwaway line, right? Like you're making one point, you say something else and people said, oh, you said this. And it's like, well, no. I was talking about something else, blah, blah, blah. And then it becomes like 800 people yelling at you for something that was just you backed into, right? Or it didn't even say. And
go ahead. Yeah.
What I like about this Cam Ward thing is that I believe it in my bones. I believe it so thoroughly, and I'm so 10 toes down that the people who were mad at me, I was just cackling at them like a villain, like a movie villain all weekend. Just like people saying the worst stuff to me in the DMs and the replies. And I was like, no, I will not be bullied on this. I love this take. I've been saying this take since mid-September on this show. I said it to I don't know if Connor Rogers told you the story. I told the story on the Roto World Football show because Connor was nearby. I was like, he was on October, and I was like, hey, Connor, he's not Mahomes. Cam Ward's not Mahomes. And then we turned the recorder off, and I was like, so he's Mahomes, right? He's like 100% Mahomes. And then I was like, I got to stop just being a coward and telling Connor off air and actually say he is the closest thing to Patrick Mahomes since Patrick Mahomes. So that's what I like. Just peeking inside the curtain here, guys. I love how angry people are at me about this take.
I know we're not here to talk about Cam Ward. And in fact, when you invited me on this podcast, you said no. Well, I mean, calling Cam Ward Mahomes is kind of propaganda.
Yeah, but I already did it.
You want to call it truth. No, but it is very funny. Like, even you bringing up, Patrick Mahomes as a potential like comp and what Cam Ward could be. When I have tried to watch people around the industry, myself included, come up with a pro comp for Cam Ward, it's like the weirdest stuff. Right? Like my comp for him that I have in the PFF draft guide is Ben Roethlisberger, but he's not.
It's Derek Clausen's too. Sawed off Ben Roethlisberger.
Exactly. But he's not built like Ben Roethlisberger. He's not quite as big. Right. He doesn't quite have as big of an arm as Ben, but like they both play this weird, never say die, not really mobile, but at least they have some scoot to them. And they're like, they make the craziest plays that nobody even thinks about, which if you say those things out loud, and I didn't say the name Ben Roethlisberger, if you're thinking recency, guess who that sounds like? So
they also have it's the Mahomesian one step. His speed is one step faster than the defensive end. And the other thing is, but it's more of, you'll see this at the NFL level. He's got the Baker Mayfield, I'm annoyed when I'm running thing. Where like I can run, but it's like, really, you're making me run. You're really making me run. Like I've compared Baker Mayfield's running style to like, it's really cold and you accidentally like forgot your keys and you have to run back inside and like you don't have the gloves on because you thought you were going to the car. And so you're just like, all right, I got to sprint, but I'm going to do it weirdly, like hunched over and angry and like maybe looking around at my receivers being like, how'd you not get open? That's kind of how Cam Ward runs most of the time. He is a reluctant runner because he wants to make the plays with his arm because he has so much arm arrogance, I think is the phrase the scouters.
It's true. It's true. I agree with you.
Yeah, no, I actually got a comp in Palm Beach that was really funny to me. And it was from someone who is a very, very, very good offensive coach. Okay. We're talking about Cam Ward, as you do. It was not, and it's not Brian Callahan. It's not anybody who's going to draft him. There's only two of those people I sat down with, and they did not comp him to what I'm about to say. They were watching Cam Ward's tape or pro day. I don't know what they were watching. And they said, it's Kyler Murray and Tony Romo's baby, which I thought was a really funny way to put it.
I don't see Kyler.
I don't see the scoot of Kyler. I don't see Kyler. The only thing I think
Romo I see, because Romo's the same thing as like the way that you talk about Roethlisberger. When I say the name Tony Romo and people immediately think of sort of the memories that they have of him, the good ones, it is those plays where they're completely broken and he makes something happen and, oh, look, Terrell Owens is down there. Whoop, there it is. Just 50 yards down the field. And it's just like, there was so much moxie and never say die and unorthodox play in all of those guys. And so it is why I can understand people being sort of smitten with Cam Ward. And to be honest with you, like everything that I have heard from anybody within the Titans organization is that like they love the dude. Like there's a reason why they didn't really make any moves at all at the quarterback position, because they are very comfortable and confident taking him at number 1 overall. And there's not really, I guess they don't really see a reason why it's like, All right, why would we bring in another quarterback? There's not a reason why. Oh, okay, so people know that we're drafting Cam Ward at 1. Who gives a damn? They're gonna know that on April 24th anyways. So to me, I think that they are closer to your camp, but very smitten for him and what he could be in the NFL.
I would agree, especially since Brian Callahan is watching his old Joe Burrow Zooms. The last thing I'll say on it, the only thing with Kyler, it's not the same scoot, but it is the how is this play still going thing. It's still like you see that he saw it against Louisville. He's just in the backfield, just like, all right, I'm going to take another lap. All right, I'll go to my right. I know I've been to my right 4 times, but I'm going to go to my right a 5th time and see what happens. Like, there's a little bit of that. But I agree with you. I don't see the same scoot. But this person, I promise you, I can't. This is off on background. I cannot say the name. Mm-hmm. Someone you would trust on quarterback.
Somebody a part of the Shanahan offense, of course. You know, just a callback there. You know,
Shedeur Sanders.
Yes.
Let's do this real quick. Okay. Shedeur Sanders works out for the Giants. Mm-hmm. Something, nothing. Is this ownership getting involved? To me, I saw a couple people. Breer said if Shedeur goes 3 or goes in the top 10 or whatever, it's ownership getting involved. I saw Solak, our buddy, say that yesterday. Oh, ownership getting involved. To me, maybe it is ownership. To me, the quarterbacks going higher than they should thing is always the coaches. It's always the coaches falling in love with some guy, or it's like something stupid like Daniel Jones moxie at the Senior Bowl or whatever. Like, I don't necessarily know if it's John Mara. It's like, it could just be at the end being like, first of all, job protectionism, them realizing that if Shane and Zabel take Shedeur 3, they get to reset the clock. I don't think this is nothing. And I don't think this is necessarily coming from the very, very top.
I don't think it's nothing, certainly. One, I always think the phrase is funny, like, he's working out with this team. What is he benching? You know, like, what is it? What's the workout? Is he going through? Is he deadlifting? Like, what's the way? Is it a CrossFit workout? What's he doing here? I always think that that's funny. Obviously, I know what it is, but the phrasing is very funny. I do think that it's kind of ownership getting involved because it feels pretty late in the process. Yeah. Like, it feels as if, you know, I think it was, I can't remember who on NFL Network was talking about this, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus at all whatsoever, but they're like, they were sort of spinning it as if it was like, oh, this was planned all along. My response to that was like, if it was planned all along, we would have known about it. Like, we would have absolutely known about it already. Shedeur Sanders, his entire camp, everything throughout this draft process, everything that they do is public, basically. Mm-hmm. So I do not think that we would have learned this for the first time if this was like always in the plans. I think that it's more likely than it's not that it is ownership getting involved and owners meddling, because this is also the timeline. 2 weeks to the draft, a week to the draft. Owners' meetings are done. They don't really have to think about that much anymore, and now they get to turn their books to the NFL draft and basically just say like, you know what, I like this guy, and they just they have a little bit of a change of heart, and obviously they're the ones who are writing the checks, so they get to decide what happens, if you will. So I'm still not convinced it happens.
Nor am I. I just think it's in play.
Yeah, but I do agree with you. I think it's in. If I believed it was coach motivated, I would be less inclined to believe it happens. But instead, I actually do think it's ownership motivated. And because of that, you have to now think about it in play as a possible reality for him to go 3.
I think something wild's going to happen. But my guess is still, I don't know. The Saints feel like an obvious pick, but I don't know if that's the timeline. The Saints have never done anything normally in many, many years. So I have no idea how that's going to happen there. Mm-hmm. People seem to be ruling out the Raiders. I don't know why. Like, is it to avoid a Kirk Cousins situation from last year?
Yeah. My only thought with the Raiders, and I agree with you, I think long-term it could make sense for Shedeur to potentially go number 6 for them. But my thought process is, Pete Carroll, for as much as obviously like he didn't want to give up coaching yet, he is mid-70s at this point. Like he's not going to be there for like 5-6 years. Pete's probably got like 3-4 years left, maybe, to be a head coach. You just traded for Geno, and they're going to probably sign him to an extension, unless I missed if they did that already officially. But he'll probably get something like a 3-year deal. It'll probably be like a 1.5, 2-ish year deal. But even if that's the case, you make this move to go get Pete Carroll and to go get Geno Smith to like win, maybe not win a Super Bowl, but like win now. And Shedeur just doesn't help you do that at all, ideally, with the investments that you've already made. So I think long-term it would make sense for the Raiders, but I don't think they're going to be in on him at 6.
All right, let's get to what we're actually doing here. 3 guys who are perfect for teams. Your hit rate was astounding last year. Give me number 1.
Number 1, we're going to head down to number 10 overall in this draft. It's the Chicago Bears, and I am going to tell you that Ashton Jeanty is the perfect player for them. I would not say that about most other teams in the NFL. I'm going to be honest. This is a similar conversation to the one that we have with Saquon Barkley, where we look at what Saquon Barkley did this past year with the Eagles. It was a historic year. He was a catalyst for why they won the Super Bowl. Even if you would have given me fully healthy Saquon Barkley, same athletic abilities, same health, same physical gifts, same mental approach to the game, he does not do that in New York. If the Giants sign him to even the same contract, he does not do that in New York, because New York was not built for him to have that sort of return on investment and production the way that the Philadelphia Eagles were. With what the Bears did in free agency, having now Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright as your offensive tackles, you've got Jonah Jackson, you got Drew Dahlman, you got Joe Thuney. You now have the offensive line to actually give yourself the luxury of taking a running back in the first round and even at the back end of the top 10 at number 10. You've done enough on the defensive side of the football as well. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. They could certainly go defensive line, maybe an edge rusher, maybe an interior guy. I'm not saying that's off the table, but I think that Ashton Jeanty is a perfect fit for Chicago. I think he's absolutely the bell cow back type of player that Ben Johnson can lean on in all situations. I think he's an immediate 1,000, if not 1,200 yard rusher in his rookie season. And I think he's a major reason why Caleb Williams would have an even better second season, an even more efficient season, and why I think the Chicago Bears would make the playoffs. So they can run basically whatever they want to run behind that offensive line. They can run a heavy. They can run a mix of zone and man and gap scheme run blocking concepts. So to me, this is the perfect landing spot for him. We talk about him maybe at 6 to the Raiders. I guess like Jacksonville sort of in the conversation, although I don't think they're seriously going to do it. We talk about him. Dallas Cowboys at number 12. The perfect situation for him, without question, is the Chicago Bears at number 10. So that's my first one.
All right. So a couple of things. I agree with you on one thing about the offensive line. That's a good offensive line. If Jonah Jackson rebounds, I don't know what you would call it. Like that's the potential to be the weak link. Just looking at it, but Drew Dahlman is perfect, and Joe Thuney is perfect, and there are no excuses now. I mean, to me, what's funny is one of the dumbest plans in history. Looking back on it, to have a guy whose flaw at the number 1 overall pick is holding onto the ball too long and not building an offensive line around him. That was really stupid. That was really, really stupid. Maybe should have cost the GM his job. He held on to it. They hired Ben Johnson. Johnson's got the juice. They had to improve their offensive line because the Lions had the best offensive line in football and made so much of what Ben Johnson does work. We don't want to see Ben Johnson's schemes run a bad offensive line. Caleb doesn't want to see that. I think PFF had him taking the most sacks on him, on anybody last year, like as far as quarterback. What's it called? Quarterback-induced sacks? What's it called?
I believe that.
Yeah,
it's something like that. Pressure to sack ratio,
whatever it is. Basically, like Caleb took a lot of those sacks. That's fine. That's going to continue to happen. Okay, that's the type of player he is. I'm good with it. By the way, Cam Moore's going to do the same thing. But you have to limit the unblocked pressures. He had last year. Caleb had the most unblocked pressures and unblocked sacks of any rookies in the Next Gen Stats started charting. Okay, that's important to know. But they solve that, so now they get to do the luxury thing. And maybe you say, hey, let's figure out defense or whatever. I don't know what's available at 10. I also don't know. Mike Tannenbaum brought this up to me the other day. Do they get to trade out because of the luxury stuff if somebody wants Shedeur? If the Steelers want Shedeur? If somebody wants Shedeur at 10, do they get to hoard picks? That's on the board. I don't know if I'm all the way in on this, but I see all of your points. And I think that let me kind of finish the thought exercise here. Ashton Jeanty on the Bears this year, and we know rookie running backs can hit the ground running. No pun intended. Like there's going to be an instant success. You mentioned Saquon. How good can this Bears team be this year with Jeanty?
I think they're a playoff team. Like even with the division that they are in, I think they're a playoff team because a lot of the big worries that we had about the Chicago Bears and a lot of the things that manifested themselves last year, inefficiency on offense, not having the right offensive line, not really having a good run game to be able to lean on, some issues just on the defensive side overall, really talented defense, but just some issues overall. Dennis Allen is your defensive coordinator, Ben Johnson's your offensive coordinator, a totally revamped offensive line. And then if you tell me that Ashton Jeanty's at the running back spot, you don't need Caleb Williams to be God tier every single week. You truly don't. And I think that it could be an extremely efficient year for him and one that he actually takes the next step and grows. Now, do I think that the Chicago Bears are winning the Super Bowl next year? No, but I absolutely think that they're making it into the playoffs, have a chance to win the division. I'm not going to take that away from the Detroit Lions as the favorites there. And I know Minnesota is obviously going to be great as well. I don't mean to not mention them as a team that had an incredible year last year, but anytime you go through a quarterback change, there's a little bit of an unknown there. But to me, the floor is them making the playoffs, at least in the wild card round. So I think that this is absolutely a playoff game in the toughest division in the NFL. And I think that, they're likely playing somebody who's not in the division, the first round of the playoffs. And I think they could absolutely win it because I think they're going to be battle tested by then. So to me, he changes everything, in my opinion. He makes them a playoff caliber team.
I love this. All right. Who's your number two?
Okay. My number two. When I was thinking about this over the last 24 hours, when you told me what the topic was going to be, this is one of the first ones that popped into my head. But then I was like, is he going to make it to them at this spot in the draft? I don't know. Is this really a realistic spot? And then I think about all the mock drafts that I saw that have Tetairoa and McMillan going somewhere between 15 and 25. And if he goes to the Los Angeles Chargers, I think that is beautiful music for what that offense is going to be. I think the offensive line is only getting better. I think Justin Herbert obviously felt very comfortable as the year went on last season. Next year, I think that it's only going to continue to get better for them. Ladd McConkey was fantastic, but then we saw that that was it. It was just Ladd McConkey for them. If you put Tetairoa and McMillan in this offense, I think everything changes. I think that he could be a 1,000-yard receiver for them, like we talked about Ashton Jeanty being able to hit the ground running. I think that especially for a player in McMillan who had, I believe it was over 1,300 yards receiving this past season, over 1,400 the year before. I think this is a 1,000-yard receiver as a rookie next year if he goes to the Los Angeles Chargers, whether it's deep downfield stuff, whether it's the contested catch stuff over the middle. And I don't think that he gets enough credit for what he is as a quick game player as well, with slants and comebacks and things like that. To me, if McMillan can make it to the Chargers at 22, I know that we've talked about, but they're going to go defensive line, Jim Harbaugh, they're always going to invest in the trenches. I think that Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz are just good at this. Yeah. Now, in a vacuum, one would say that, yes, most years you prioritize the trenches. But when I look at what the Chargers have at their disposal, 10 draft picks in this draft, and a lot of flexibility to move up and down, especially on day two, we are conditioned right now to believe that wide receiver is always very deep. And I think that this wide receiver class is good, but it's not as deep as it has been in years past. Tetairoa McMillan, in my opinion, is an archetype of a wide receiver one that's sort of one of one in this draft class. So if you prioritized him at 22 and you had the opportunity to take a player like that, an offensive playmaker at number 22, you will still have opportunities to take defensive linemen in rounds 2, 3, and 4 in this draft who could either be starters or key rotational players for you. So that is why not just the fit, not just the need for an X receiver like Tetairoa McMillan is, but also the overall draft strategy that the Chargers could have if they get a player like this at number 22. It's why it's such a perfect fit, in my opinion.
Is this just bad luck with the receiving class? Because it just feels like there should never be a bad receiving class ever again because of the way the high school and 7-on-7 game developed.
And that's the thing is, I wouldn't say that it's a bad wide receiver class, but last year you had the opportunity where I felt like rounds 3, 4, even 5, you could get guys who could be really contributing players for you and starters. That could still be the case this year. It's just, I think overall this class is just a little less of a sure thing than last year's was, or at least you felt less confident about it. So it's still a good receiver class, but it's not as oh man, there's only so many picks that could be had. So I'm going to get this guy in the 3rd and 4th round. I wouldn't call it bad because I totally agree with you. I don't think there's ever going to be a bad wide receiver class ever again. But compared to sort of last year's class, it is a little bit less deep than last year's was.
Interesting. All right, number 3.
So number 3 for me is Gray Zabel, the offensive lineman from North Dakota State, going to the Seattle Seahawks. They have such a massive need at both guard spots and at center. Gray Zabel
had it for a while.
Gray Zabel can play, and I don't think Geno Smith got enough credit for what he did behind that bad interior offensive line. I'm just going to say that. Gray Zabel can play center for you. He can play left guard. He can play right guard. He played offensive tackle at North Dakota State. He went to the Senior Bowl. They put him at center. They put him at left guard. They put him at right guard, a position that he has not played in over 2 years, and he looked fantastic. Not only that, he's a fantastic athlete. He's very smooth. He's a very smooth mover. He can play with some power. I'm not saying that he can, but the reason why I love him for the Seattle Seahawks isn't just because of how desperate they are to get better up front, which they need to do with Sam Darnold now as their quarterback. It's also a scheme fit with Clint Kubiak, who's coming over from the New Orleans Saints. Kubiak ran man and gap scheme run concepts just 22.3% of the time last year. That was either one of the lowest or the lowest in the NFL. On the flip side, over 60% of their runs last year in New Orleans were zone blocking runs, either mid, outside, or inside zone. Gray Zabel is the perfect player to be able to run as much zone as you want to. So I think that they will have to double dip at the interior offensive line spots throughout that draft, but this is a perfect player in my opinion. And I mean, I'll throw just a bonus one out there. If they don't get Gray Zabel in the first round, Jared Wilson from Georgia, also a perfect fit for them. Now that they have an extra second round pick at 50 and 52, if they don't go Gray Zabel at 18, I'd expect for Jared Wilson to be one of their top targets there at 50 and 52 for the exact reasons that I mentioned that Zabel could be a fit as well. So those two guys, but mainly Zabel at 18, I think is a perfect fit for them.
The Seahawks going to be any good?
I'm skeptical. I love Mike Macdonald.
I love Mike Macdonald too, but I look at the roster and I look at the Darnold thing and I'm just like, I think know.
I think there's a lot of redundancy with JSN and Cooper Kupp. I really do. Unless their run game's a lot better next year, I'm worried about the Seahawks. I am.
And then the Rams, I think the Rams are going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that the Niners are going to be a little better. I don't think they're going to be the Rams level, but like I'm just looking at the division going, I don't know. I'm not really seeing it today. I'm not ready to talk Broncos level with the Seahawks anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they're slightly below 500 next year. But draft class pending, of course. But yeah,
you wonder. And listen, I'm a huge Mike Macdonald guy, just like you, and sometimes that can be the problem with the defensive coach is if the offensive side of the roster is not elite, it's hard for them. Like if you have like a Shanahan guy, he's just gonna make everything better on the offensive side of the ball. Like that's just what he does. If you have like a top guy on offense, he's going to make everything a little bit better and the defense can sort itself out. Like when you have a defensive head coach, I don't know. You're just at the mercy of your offensive coordinator every year. Ryan Grubb's down in Alabama right now. I just saw him giving quarterback competition updates. Like they're just going to, I don't know. The talent level is not where it is. The offensive coaching may not be where it needs to be. I don't know. I'm a little pessimistic.
Can I throw a sneaky one that this is a take that I love to get out there?
Please.
I don't think this will happen because Jalen Milroe has now been invited to Green Bay for the draft. However, if the Packers had the opportunity to draft him in the third round, I think they should absolutely do that. Not because I'm anti-Jordan Love, but in fact, I want to see them do what the Patriots just did with Joe Milton with Malik Willis. Malik Willis played well when he played for the Green Bay Packers in relief, and I think there's a possibility where you could get some sort of a mid-round pick for him.
When is the threshold where that creates value?
What do you mean?
Like where would you pick him?
Third round. Okay, I wouldn't pick him. I wouldn't pick him center. That's why I'm saying like it's not a first round thing. It's not a second round thing. It's simply is the league.
And Ron Wolf. That was his thing for years. So I'm saying. Mark Brunell, Kurt Warner. Yeah, okay, I got it. I got you.
So you just trade Willis, who's already kind of shown last year, okay, maybe he's got something here. You might be able to get like a third round pick for him, and it's the last year of his rookie contract. So even if it's a fourth round pick, if you're drafting Jalen Milroe in the third round, all of a sudden you're resetting the quarterback rookie contract to be a backup there. And obviously, Matt LaFleur did pretty well with Malik Willis, so I think that he could do pretty well with Jalen Milroe.
You've won me over. Do you agree that your coworkers at PFF, you had nothing to do with this?
All right, here we go.
Who did the big board of if everybody was eligible, okay? And they said if everybody was eligible, Cam Ward would go third. Arch Manning and DJ Lagway would go 1 and 2. Do you believe that those coworkers should be in jail?
I think they got the right order with 2 and 3. Go Gators.
I will say this. First of all, you better get some good doctors down in Gainesville because DJ Lagway hasn't thrown all spring. Might need shoulder surgery. I'm seeing some.
No, it's all right.
Some tweets.
Right. Look, we got some spells. We got some spells. We got some witchcraft going on. He'll be fine. Week 1, he'll be good. Good to go.
My thing about Lagway, and I actually, he almost came on the show a couple weeks ago, and I was looking forward to that. I think he's really good. For me, what I keep saying about Cam Ward is something that Steve Young said about Mahomes again on the show years ago that I think about a lot, where he was like, the thing Mahomes does is everyone talks about the Superman stuff. They don't talk about the Clark Kent stuff, which is just taking the 4-yard check down over the middle, hitting Kelsey on like the easiest option route of all time. Like just bang, 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 routine. Something as simple as selling the play action, just the nuts and bolts. Everyone talks about the Superman stuff. I think Cam Ward now in his, having played college football for 5 years, does the Clark Kent really well. I don't know if Washington State and Incarnate Word, Cam Ward did. And part of that was his offensive line.
I agree.
With Lagway, I saw too many throws last year, the interceptions, where I'm just like, what was that? What just happened? Like Tulane being a good example where I'm just like, that was bad. And it wasn't, and you see the flashes and you see the arm angles, you see all that stuff. But I'm just like, I got to see the Clark Kent a little bit more. He's got to develop that because some of these reads where he's making it, it's just like, wait, why did he throw that? And why? I mean, like, touchdown to interception ratio is the most basic stat in the world. And you can't read, it's like the old line, stats are like hostages. You can just make them say what you want. But like when I see against Power 5 teams, didn't he have basically 1-to-1 because Samford had 4 touchdowns?
I don't remember what the ratio was, but look, I mean, like I completely agree with you. Even as a Gators fan who gets excited about DJ Lagway being their quarterback, like he was basically either a big game hunter. He was either throwing a 40, 50, 60-yard touchdown or like that was pretty much it. And to be fair, obviously,
I believe it was the second best deep passing grade in the country.
It was because that was basically all of his production. Right. And he was not supposed to start last year, right? I mean, like it was supposed to be Graham Mertz, and then Graham Mertz gets hurt, and they throw him in there as a true freshman. So, no, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like even with Arch, I would say the same thing about Arch Manning. Arch Manning has some incredible like highlight reel plays, but Connor and I have talked about this on Stock Exchange. There's no guarantee that Arch declares next year. It'll be his first year as a starter. Like, I think that he will. I think it's more likely than he's not simply because of the name and the brand and the recognition. And I just think that a team's going to take him number 1 overall. I mean, if we're talking about quarterbacks in this class, no offense to Cam Ward, but like going number 1 or even like trying to get these other quarterbacks, Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe. We're trying to get all these quarterbacks in the first round. What, you're telling me a kid with the last name Manning's not going to be a top 5 overall pick, even as a 1-year starter? Yeah, he probably is. So, but I think that Arch is in the same category. Like both of those dudes, it's no guarantee that they're going to be like the greatest quarterback prospects that we've ever seen because both of them will be entering their first years as full-time starters. And I think that, like you said about Cam Ward, I think that's really important. Cam's game has matured. So, I mean, exponentially. I remember watching him at Incarnate Word. I remember watching him at Washington State, and obviously like what he was this past year at Miami was no question about it, the best version of him. And it's because he had time, it's because he had reps, and he was able to figure things out. So those other guys, for as exciting as they are, yes, of course they need that.
Just to correct one thing, you said Arch Manning may not be the best quarterback prospect of all time or whatever you said. We here at Omaha Productions do feel that Arch Manning is the best prospect in history and does all the right things off the field, academics, great human being. Just wanted to get that out there in case there was any Arch criticism coming from that side of the panel. We do not endorse that take.
Of course. Understandable. Yeah.
All right, tell us what you're doing. You got Stock Exchange, PFF, you got everything.
Yeah, PFF.com. We got the draft guide out right now. So if you have a PFF subscription, you can see that. Like 200 prospects. We got everything, the strength and weaknesses, the counting summaries, the scheme fits, the player comps, all the good stuff for all of them. We are releasing team specific top 100s over the next couple of weeks. So obviously we're taking my big board and I am using a lot of data, like I sort of talked about on the show. How often do they run zone versus man and gaps run blocking concepts? How often are they in press? How often do they have one high safety, two high safeties? And I sort of adjust my big board for where I think these players are going to be ranked for each team specifically. So that's coming over the next couple of weeks. And then, a lot of fun over at the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. Me and Connor talking NFL draft as much as we possibly can up till draft day.
Connor Rogers, sneaky jacked guy.
Oh, yeah. I know 100%. I wouldn't even say that it's sneaky at this point, but yeah.
It snuck up on me.
All right.
I know about it now. But
did he give you a bro hug and then it was just like hugging iron?
Because I've seen him in person and I saw him. We were on the same flight to the Super Bowl and I was like, this guy's jacked. He's like thank God he's here. He's like an air marshal, problems if he wasn't there. I'm not gonna find anybody. All right. See you, buddy.
See you, dude.